Kathy, welcome back to the show.
Well, thanks for having me back, Justin. It's good to see you.
It's
It's been
great
a
to see
while.
you. It has been a while. Actually, let me hold on. On my wall, there's a bunch of people, and I know that you were. I don't- So I lost a bunch of them when we moved, and I might have. Oh no, there you are. You were episode 296.
And what are you
How,
up to now?
so you will now be episode 523.
Good for you. Good for you for your consistency. I mean, that's something really special. I unfortunately dropped off during COVID. So
Yeah, it's so crazy. Like, and I want to talk to you about that a little bit because podcasting has evolved so much over the last 8 years. So I started 8 years ago.
mhm.
I take a month off here and there just because my brain needs a break, and I was like, okay, let's give everybody a break here. But I've been pretty consistent for 8 years, and like 8 years ago, I would say I had a podcast, and people will go, "What's a podcast?" And now they go,
You're
"Oh
like,
God, you have one too, right?" Like because it's just
there's so
happening.
everybody. If you have an Instagram, you have a podcast.
Yeah, exactly,
You
exactly.
know?
But I want to talk. You had a podcast.
Yes.
You've done a number of episodes. I was a guest on there. What was your experience like? Because I know that we talked last week, and you're like, hey, maybe I'm gonna bring it
Get
back.
started.
So talk a little bit
Yeah.
about your experience with the podcast.
Oh, I loved it. I loved, especially because a lot of the episodes were with my family, so we got a chance to interact, and people were very, very responsive to that. They loved it. It was very relatable. Um, I enjoyed it very much. It was just being consistent, and that's kind of a lot of things with me in my life anyway. And if I don't schedule it, it's not getting done, you know? And my
Hmm.
husband always tells me, get a schedule, write it down. It's going to get done if you schedule it. And I'm a creative.
Yeah.
So I'm here, I'm there. I'm like, and if somebody needs me, I'm jumping in for them, like my family. If they need me, I'm there for them. So a lot of times I get put on the back burner, not because anybody forces me to, because it's self-inflicted, you know.
Yeah.
But I did enjoy connecting with a lot of people, and it was about their story, their personal stories. And for me, it was about, excuse me, my allergies are really
Yeah.
kicking in.
Mine are killing me today. It's bad.
Yeah. So it was really about indulging in life and indulging in food, indulging in travel, indulging whatever it is that you find that's so indulgent. It makes your soul, set your soul on fire. Let's talk about it, and I think more people need to tap into that. So that's what the podcast was about. And then we hit a wall with COVID, and it was like, there's nothing setting me on fire these days, and it affected me as well. And so we got really wrapped up. I mean, how many times can you sit and listen to my family talk about how bored they were during
Yeah.
COVID, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I love your thought process around indulging in life. A lot of what I talk about as an entrepreneur, like with my mastermind and some other things that I do, is that like when you dive into a business, you become so wrapped up into it that becomes your life. And then one day you're gonna look back and you go, oh man, I really should have enjoyed this a little bit more. So I love talking about enjoying the moment, which is probably why if it's not on your calendar, it doesn't get done because you're somebody
Right.
who lives in the moment. Where did that come from you from like for you? Was it from childhood? Was it something you adopted later in life?
Well, when I was a kid, we really didn't live on a schedule. It was school, work, school, work, school, work, and I always was up for an adventure. Some friends called, let's take a ride into the city, or let's go on a vacation. That was me. I'll drop everything on a dime. And if you told me tonight you need to be on a plane, you're going to Europe for 2 weeks, can you make it happen? And I'm like, yeah. I keep a bag with all my essentials ready to go. So I'm that type of person, and my husband is that type of person as well. So that makes it, that's our lifestyle. Also, when this was a big part of it that really pushed us back, when my daughter was diagnosed with a brain tumor when she was 10 years old. Now we're talking, that's 20 years ago. This month or last month, 20 years ago,
Wow.
and we were on vacation, and all of a sudden, this happened, and she was diagnosed, and we had to rush her back to New York. And we look at that as I followed my instincts of what was happening with her. Had she been in New York, it may have been like they would have dismissed her, maybe, because she didn't show any extreme signs. But we got this doctor in the ER, and she happened to be like just one of those doctors to dig a little further, and she found it.
Wow.
um, so at that time, my husband and I view it as we won the lottery, and you don't know what tomorrow brings. And so we live by this motto in our house: you have to grab the good. And so when you're having a good day, enjoy it and create and try to create more of those good days. And it could be a simple meal sitting around the table with your family. Like yesterday, it was Mother's Day. Oh, the whole world's taking their mother to brunch, to this, to that. You're getting the worst service at restaurants. You're getting, except for Pizza Love, but you're getting like everybody's going crazy. But we stayed home and we made a simple dinner. My mom and my sister came over. My son came in from New York. My daughter happened to be away, but it was a simple meal and it was beautiful. It wasn't, and there wasn't any fanfare, cakes, balloons, this, that, the other thing. It was just a really nice day enjoying each other. And I think that because your life isn't made up of these big, extravagant moments. Your life is made up of these little moments, these little tiny special moments. And when you look back at them, those are the moments that stand out. I
Hmm.
feel
Yeah,
that's what makes it's like the pennies that make up the dollar. You know,
for
you
sure.
count. Nowadays it's the dollars that make up the hundreds. But
Yeah.
yeah, but the pennies make up the dollar, and that if you put it out on like a yardstick for say the inches and centimeters and all that, it's those things that make up the yardstick. So you got to look at it that way too.
Yeah, like I often say, like, there's so many times in our lives where we look back and go, "Oh man, those are the good old days." But we don't even realize that like right now, 10 years from now, we're gonna look back and go, "Wow, those were the good old days." So just be super present. Yeah, like right now is the good old days. So being present, at any given moment is such a game changer for so many people. Now, obviously, people know you from Real Housewives in New Jersey. How long ago did you leave that show?
Oh, I'm gonna say it's about 7 years ago, maybe 8. I can't remember, honestly. It feels like it was yesterday, and it feels like a lifetime ago. I mean,
That's
I'm
the
sure you
COVID times. Just fast
yeah.
forward through
Well,
everything.
yeah, those are the missing years. So, but it does. It feels like it was forever ago. Excuse me. And yeah, so I did that for about 7 years, and now it's been 7 years since I'm off of it, or more.
Yeah. And it's so funny whenever you post on Instagram, if you look at your comments, somebody's always saying, "You need to come back to the show. You need to come back on the show." Like how how has it been over the last 7 years continuing to redefine yourself and realizing that like, "Hey, I'm not just this woman that was on this show. Like I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a business owner, I'm all these things." Like what is that like for you trying to like I don't even know if you're trying to, but like redefine yourself after those years?
Yeah, well, what happens is once you leave, for whatever reason, and it just wasn't working anymore. It wasn't working for my story wasn't working for the network. It wasn't working for me personally, and I personally got myself off
Yeah.
by not engaging. You
Yeah.
know, like,
Yeah.
oh well, Kathy, you need to get involved more. Yeah, I'm good. Well, then your storyline isn't going to evolve, and I'm just not playing anymore. I don't want to. I'm good. You want to move. So um after you're off of it then, and you're like, you take a step back and you're like, okay, what am I going to do now? And for people that were very wrapped up in that life, or for someone that, if you were wrapped up in that life, it would come as a big blow. And there's some part of that, I have to be honest, like you sit back and you're like, okay, what am I going to do now? Well, I'm going to do whatever I want to do. And I'm going to go back to the life that I lived before, because I stayed authentic to I could just resume my life the way it was because I didn't change who I was.
Yeah.
And I feel that a lot of people that leave, they don't realize that they get stuck in this bubble, and once they get out of it, they don't know what to do with themselves. Or the relationships have severed, or people start to treat you differently, like, oh well, you were on that show. you know
Mm,
oh, you're not on that show anymore, we don't need to be as enamored with you, or what have you. And if you're still, I'm happy to stand in the back of the line. I'm happy to wait my turn, pick a number. I'm good. But if you let all that celebrity and stardom, and is my name isn't on the list type of thing, you let all that stuff get to your head and get to who you are, um, that's a problem for you. you really, you're going to jump off the ledge, because now all of a sudden nobody really gives a shit about
Yeah.
you, you know?
Yeah.
But for me, my priorities have always been the people around me. Do I give a shit about them, and do they give a shit about me? And that never changed. So I just slid right back into my life, and it was great. And then as you go, those lessons that you learned along the way, you realize that this is the best thing that ever happened to me, because now I get time to focus on whatever I want to do. And there's so many ideas. It's the harder part is, um, putting all those ideas down, and actually acting on those ideas, because, you know, there's so many in my head,
Hmm.
and the things I want to do. It's just getting getting them done, instead of having a producer telling you that you need to do this, you need to be here at this time, you need to be that, this is what you need to be, this is where you're going, this is what you need to be in charge of all that.
Yeah, I think I would lose my mind if I ever ended up on a show that was telling me how to live my life and where to be and when. Like, I'd just be like, yeah, that's not for me. Now, and I think I told you this last time I interviewed you. I've never seen Real Housewives of anything, right? And it's really funny.
Huh?
I've interviewed you, and I'm friends with Albie, and I just couldn't imagine the the dramatic shift even in your life, right? So from, I don't want to say obscurity, but from obscurity to fame rather quickly. I want to dive into that a little bit as far as like, uh, was there ever any backlash or hate or haters or people that are, rather rude? I have a friend of mine who's actually on Survivor right now. So she's one of the final
Uh-huh.
6 people left on Survivor this season. And it's crazy to see the comments. Now she handles it with grace, but like to
Yeah.
see the people attacking, like what was that like for you when you first started getting those haters?
Oh yeah, well that is very strange, because they're like, keyboard commandos,
Yeah.
like you, if you met me in person, you the same person that's accusing you, trashing you, picking you apart, is going to be, oh, let's take a picture. Oh my God, you're so sweet. You're my favorite, you know? And it's just so strange, So you have to, like, first of all, when I first started, people said, don't read the comments. Don't read the comments, because that gets into your head. And if
Yeah.
you allow that to bother you, you're going to start changing who you are. And of course, you're going to read them, and you're
Of
gonna,
course.
like, have that urge to jump back at them. And then I'm like, I don't even know these people. They don't really know me. I don't really care what you think. Somebody like my husband loves it. He loves the debate. He loves the back and forth. But then it just never ends. And you gotta like that kind of stuff. I don't like confrontation. I don't care if you think that, you know, I wore the wrong dress, or I look like I had plastic surgery. I get that one all the time. Oh my God, plastic surgery up the, like, no, I had a nose job. That's it. Like, stop. Oh yeah, if I had, the opportunity to get a facelift, I'd look like you too. I don't have a facelift. Look at this neck. I mean, come on. It's like, so, and if I did, I'd say it. I have nothing to hide, whatever. But it's those things. Like, you claim to know so much about me, you really don't know anything about me. And you have to, like, that comes with maturity too. You have to just shake it off. Like,
Yeah,
but it does. In the beginning, it could really affect you.
for sure. For sure.
That's why, for people that are young and growing up in it, because then you start reading these comments, and those characteristics that they're describing of you becomes your identity. And that's really scary for young people. And
Yeah,
that could be, have to be on TV. They could be just on Instagram, and it's or any kind of social media, for instance, that, they read all these comments or interact with these people, they get influenced by what they're seeing and think that that's real life. When here I am, I have a ring light on in front of me. I'm sitting. I made sure that my room looked good. I put makeup on. I wore a color that flatters me. I look, the best that I could look in this moment, and that's what everybody else does.
yeah,
You don't see people on TikTok or Instagram taking pictures of themselves when they're at their worst, or when they're in a bad mood, or or something terrible just happened to them, unless they're one of those people that, that do. But for the most part, celebrities have a whole, I did this myself. Uh, my little tripod here is crap. I have a UPS box, a Staples box, you know, it's the best angle, all that. They have a whole team doing that for them
Yeah.
and being fed words, So of course they're going to be with the right language, they're going to be with the right makeup, with the right lighting. Everything's going to be perfect. And you think that their life is perfect. And it's not.
Yeah, and I think so many people need to hear that, and I try and say that to people all the time. People get caught up in the vanity of numbers and likes and comments, and I couldn't imagine that you're talking about young kids. I couldn't imagine if social media was a thing when I was growing up, right? Like, so my stepson just got Instagram. He's 13.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's one of those, like, he hasn't, kids their age, they don't even post photos. They just follow each other and follow weird
Right.
accounts, and it's whatever. And
Yeah.
he's such not a vanity kid, but I worry about the 11-year-old when she becomes 13 and she can have it. Like, what's that going to be like to have all that noise and people chirping and the constant bullying? So I think that what you just said is just so spot on to be like, look, it's not real life. You just have to be
No,
super aware of it.
100%. And the more and like you could have that talk with the kids once, twice. You have to constantly have that talk and constantly show them examples of what you're talking about, so it really hits home, because even as an adult you forget, and you're like, if you get, sometimes I'll just put away my cell phone and like, not, that's it, I'm not going to be on Instagram or anything from this hour to this hour for the next month or two, or what, I'm going to cut down my hours, and then all of a sudden it creeps back up again and you start forgetting, you get pulled in.
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the stuff that you have your hands in now, right? Obviously, just because the show's over doesn't mean you're not doing anything. Like you said, you can do whatever you want now. And you'd mentioned it earlier, Pizza Love, which gave great service on Mother's Day. But first of all, I have not been. I want to go. It looks amazing. Like, talk a little bit about this business and kind of what you see it becoming in the future.
Well, you know what? It's a really great community that we found this location, and it's a small town. It's kind of like a sleepy town in Wyckoff, New Jersey, and the community has been really receptive from when we moved in, and it's great to be able to serve, to be there, a fixture in the community, that people know that it's going to be a constant. The food's always going to be good. You could bring your families, and that's what it is. It's a family type of place. It's not fancy at all. And in New Jersey, we have a lot of BYOB. So bring your own bottle, bring your own wine. They're everywhere. And those always have the best food. And so you could bring your family, father, mother, grandma, have a nice bottle of wine. The kids, there's something for the kids. We have, upscale dishes for, the grown-ups, or if your kids like fish too, you could get that too. So we have a great variety. You can get anything from like a burger or a wrap to pizza or a salmon dish or shrimp dish, and everything in between. We have an extensive menu. And right now we're happy with the location and we're happy with where we are. Ultimately, would we love to open up others? But it's very difficult to find a staff that to rely on. And, people have your team members in place that enjoy being there. And we've been really lucky that we have an array of very motivated people that work with us and work for us. And the team really comes together. And everyone always says, and they're young and happy. And it's like a fun place to work. It's it's a neighborhood place. So the kids are always smiling and always happy to help. And the patrons really feel that. And and I get that feedback all the time. Your staff is incredible. Like friends of mine will go in and not mention that they know me or what have you. And they get treated the same way as my friends that do know me and tell them, and that's a really rewarding thing to say, to hear, Also, like, our big thing is with our employees is you come in, you wear a smile. That's the first thing. Doesn't cost anything. You'd be surprised at how great your day goes, and the patrons will just love you for it. And they do. So Um, that's a challenge, is finding people that are that motivated and that want to stay with you.
Yeah, I often say, our mutual friend Fabio Viviani, I often say I admire the man, but I would never want to go into the restaurant business like him.
Right.
Like I couldn't, him and I were texting and a lot through COVID, and it was like, I can't keep people. This is like, what's going on? And he's doing that at such a large scale. I can see why that would be a big problem. But what made you jump into that business?
Well, we always talked about it, my husband and I, it was always something I wanted to do. And his best, like, longtime friends were in that business. And so they said, okay, we'll do it together. We'll make it a joint venture, but we have to find the right location. And so then when this location popped up, we were like, okay, this is the spot. Let's do it. We'll do it together. We'll share the effort. And it's been really doing very well. And we're happy, especially even during COVID. We
That's
were able
great.
to be there as a fixture and serve the community and be there for families and have a great variety and stay safe. And we put a very good system in place that was efficient, and we're happy that that it all worked out.
Yeah, and New Jersey was tough. You like my whole family's in South Jersey, so like just hearing what they went through versus what we went through where we are in Pennsylvania, I was
Right.
like, that's crazy. So kudos to you for keeping it afloat. Like I know a lot of things didn't make it through, so that's
Yeah.
absolutely incredible. So I want to ask you a question that I ask every person on the show. I don't know if I asked it back in episode 200 and whatever we said, 296. So let's give it a shot. It's a two-part question. The first part is, what is your definition of success? And the second part is, what are three things you do every single day to ensure that success for yourself?
Oh, success. My definition of success would be, my well-being, my family's well-being, um, staying close with my family. That's success. Having children, knowing that you raised really good human beings, that's that's everything to me. Um, it's something that money can't buy. That's what wealth is. That's a good book, by the way. You have to get that one.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and it's hard to define. Everybody has a different definition of success, right? But I think that that's the prime thing for me, is my family, my children, my extended family, um, and being happy in this moment. You know, that is the most important thing to me. Like, knowing that I did the best that I could today to be, the best that I can be. And I'm grateful for every moment that I'm alive, and because there's not that many people that can really feel that way. I think the grateful heart is a giving heart, and you continue to reap the benefits from it.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. And what are three things you do every single day to ensure that success?
Oh, smile, number one. Smile and thank God. That's one thing. Smile, thank God, be appreciative for everything, even the smallest moments. Like, for instance, I changed my verbiage from, oh, I have to do this or I have to do that, to, I get to do this. I get to go there. I get to, whether I'm having company, oh, I have to get ready because I have all these people coming over. No, I get to get ready and cook and have all these people come to my house. How lucky am I? If you change that one word, there's always going to be things that you don't want to do, but you're here, you're alive, you're breathing, you're healthy, and you get to go about your day. Where there's people that are imprisoned, whether it be a facility or just imprisoned by their own thoughts, that don't that aren't able to do those things.
Yeah, I love it. Now, you mentioned earlier how you're creative, right? So you're always creating, you're always thinking of new ideas, and you're putting a lot of your creative into a brand new house. Let's talk a little bit about that. You said, I get to have people over, but now you're working on, and I checked out your Instagram and I saw like the renderings, and it looks
Yeah,
absolutely amazing. Where
thank
did
you.
where did this crazy project come from?
So 2 years ago, my daughter got married in February of, well, it's 3 years now. My daughter got married, and the house was like we felt like it was getting bigger. My son was still home, and it was big, but also it was a big responsibility to keep up with and be like always aware of what's going on everywhere, whatever. And we were traveling a lot. And then my husband said, kind of getting bored here. And I'm like, all right, but this is home. What do you mean you're getting bored? Because I don't know. I'd like to do some different things, but it wouldn't work here. And I said, okay, so what do you got in mind? And he said, well, I think that maybe it's time we sell the house. And I said, Rich, come on. We're not going to sell the house. This is we put everything into this. It was a dream home for me. We're not going to sell the house. He goes, you know what? Our friend who's a realtor came by and he says, yeah, sure. Let me send a photographer over and take pictures. I said, okay, sure. You can do that. He came on, sends pictures over to me, and I'm looking at the pictures because, they stage the house. And,
Oh yeah.
When you're living in something or you're going about your daily, this is terrible, but you take your life for granted. So now I have these photos in print and I'm looking at them and I'm like, this is my house. Oh my God. I built this house and it's beautiful. Like, Rich, we're not moving. We're not selling this house. No way. We get a call from the realtor. He was at an open house and he happened to show our pictures during the open house. He says, hey, I have 3 potential, buyers interested. Can I bring them through the house? I said, absolutely not. We're not selling the house. Not happening. He goes, well, they're ready. They're very interested. Can I please take a few hours? I said, I'm leaving for Europe for 5.5 weeks. I can't have people come through my house. No, I'm packing. He said, I promise it'll be one day, for 3 people, in and out. Okay. He brings them through, 3 offers, all above what we thought we could get.
Yeah.
So fast forward 2 days later, we get a contract, and fast forward another day later, we have the buyers in the house with inspectors, and we're leaving for the airport in like 2 hours. And we're like, what's happening? They were blown away. They wanted the house, and they were such a nice family and had such a nice story. And we just felt like, okay, this is what we wanted. So, okay. So
Wow.
we went away, and they allowed it, they put in the contract that we could stay till Christmas or right before Christmas, because they wanted to be in for Christmas. And so we had a few months to decide where we were going. Now we come back from vacation. We have no place to live. And we're thinking, yeah, we'll find something. No problem. We're looking for a project, a fixer-upper or something like that. So we're looking around, looking at everything I saw. I hated everything. And then we start, okay, we're going to have to rent now. And then my husband takes me to see this one house that I absolutely hated. But across the street, there was an estate sale going on. So the contents of the house were being sold. And we would walk past this house or this street, not even knowing that there was a house tucked back in the woods, all during COVID, every single day during COVID. And we love this street. It's beautiful, tree lined, and part of this is on the lake. And we were like, yeah, these are great houses. Wow. And that's where the estate sales. So I said, well, there's a house back there. Let's walk up the driveway, and it's completely wooded. The only thing I could think of is Enchanting, because it was so private. Then I see the house. It's a brick ranch, and I can't stand brick. I really, no offense to anybody that has brick, but it's just not my thing. I walk in and I fall in love with the house. It's old. It's, really run down. And I said, okay, Rich, this is our house. I want this house. He goes, Kath, it's not for sale. Like, I know, but I want this house. We have to get this house. And we pursued it and pursued it and pursued it, and we did. And this was September. Then I contacted the lawyer that was handling the estate. Finally, he says, okay, the house is going to go up for sale. We were in Florida. The next day, we jumped on a plane and we went to see it. We almost lost the house because we got outbid. But
Yeah.
then my husband was like, all right, you can't stop talking about this house. We're going to get this house. He goes, I'm going to put one final bid in. And if he takes it, he takes it. And we did. And so we went into the house thinking it was going to be a renovation because that's all I wanted was a renovation. And unfortunately, the house couldn't be saved. It was run down. The people that had done the work for this elderly couple didn't do it the right way. And as we started to pick apart things, we found that the construction was poorly, constructed, and there was a lot of rotting and the windows were no good and all that. So we started from scratch. So here we are again. So yeah.
But how exciting you get to use your creative to
Yeah.
build out exactly what it is you want, and then
Yeah.
hopefully that'll be your forever home unless your husband
Yes.
gets bored again.
No, he's not, because it's a one level house. I'm like, no, this is it. It's not going to be too big. It's just the right size, just for what we need. I'm working closely with my architect, Dan D'Agostino, who is, one of the best in the area. And although I loved my other architect too, that we had for the other house, but was looking for something different here. And yeah, and it's just, it's really coming along really well. My architect listened and paid attention to what our family needs and what we were looking for, and he captured it. So the plans are done. Finally, I just picked them up, and now we have to submit them through town and wait for that, and then get started hopefully soon.
I love it. Yeah, like what's the timeline? How long do you think until you're in this house?
Our other house was a much bigger house, and it took us about 18 months to build it, you know, but things have changed considerably in construction, goods, inspections, all that stuff. So I don't know. My husband told me last night, he goes, hopefully next year for Mother's Day, we'll have everybody there. So we'll see. I hope so.
Fingers crossed. I love it.
Yeah.
So what's in the future for Kathy? We know you're relaunching the podcast. I'm going to double down on this. I think that it's something that you love doing. It's something your fans and your followers want more of. I think that'd be
Yeah.
great. Will we ever see you pop up on TV again? Like, what's in the future for Kathy?
I don't know. I've been getting a lot of calls about that lately. But I don't know. I learned never say never. Um, I know that what I want to do is uh, be a person that helps people. So if I could find a way to incorporate all that, use it in the podcast. I want to teach. I was so happy to be teaching cooking classes for Remington College down in Memphis. I worked really well with them. I did that for quite a while, and it was very rewarding. And I know I love to do that. So I'm hoping that I could get that started and incorporate that into my podcast somehow. You
Mhm.
know, I think it's an important thing to be able to cook a meal and be able to cook for yourself and for others. And so I'd love to be able to share what I know and who I am about that to other people. So I know that whatever I'm going to be doing is going to be something that I can help people, in one way or another, whether it's make them feel good today, help them cook a meal, offer a little wisdom. I get a lot of requests about how do you make it? You're married 33 years. How did you make it work? And you make it look like it's so much fun. Well, there are days that it's not so fun, but I get a lot of questions about that. Yeah, you got to try and make it the best that you can make it, and you got to laugh a lot. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I love it. I've officially crossed the 1 year mark of marriage. So,
Congratulations.
hopefully one day, I mean, we got married a little bit older, but hopefully one day, we'll hit 35, 40, even 50 years, right? If we live long enough, we'll hit that
Yeah.
50-year mark. But, I love that. And by the way, there's a number to talk about your idea of cooking and putting that into the podcast. There are a lot of shows now that do that. So it's something that's super popular. Bert Kreischer does it. It's called something's burning. He has two guests and he cooks for them.
Uh-huh.
And then I think it's Roy Choi, Chef Choi.
I don't know.
He's like a celebrity, one of the celebrity chefs. He did something on Netflix, which is similar, and they did it
Okay.
live, which was a
Yeah.
bit of a mess. It shouldn't have been live.
It's
But
hard because there's a lot of, because I tried doing it, my podcast, and serving food while we record the podcast. There's a lot of interference,
yeah,
and people don't want to hear you chewing,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
but it's good to get the visual and the way people interact to your food, so it's there's a way to do it. I think that it could be really good.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
I agree, and I'm excited to see what you churn out this year.
Yeah.
I think it'll be a ton of fun. It'll give obviously again your followers a glimpse back into your life. And
Yeah.
then again, like now you said you were fielding a lot of phone calls. I won't ask for details, but I'm interested to see, like you said, never say never, and we'll see what happens in the future for you. But so I wrap up every single interview with the same question. But before we get there, how do people find you? How do they follow you? What's all the good stuff?
So you can find me on Instagram. It's my name, Kathy Wakile. Same on Facebook. I am on TikTok, but I don't really go on there that often because I just don't get it. You know,
Well, it's gonna go
another
away anyway, right? They
yeah,
think the
it's just
government's
another
shutting it down.
yeah. So pretty much Instagram. My cannoli kits are available on goldbelly.com if anybody is interested in getting them. They're a great gift, especially now Father's Day is coming. Your father does not need another tie. He does not need another tie or a gardening tool. Get him something that he's really going to love. Get him a cannoli kit, and he can keep it in his freezer for whenever he's ready to make those cannolis, or you can make them with him. I believe in giving experiences. So this is something fun you could do together. It's available on goldbelly.com, and you just put my name in and the cannoli kit will come up. It's called Indulge Cannoli Kit. It comes direct to your door. So if your father lives across the country, he could still get it. And that's basically it. That's where you can find me.
I love it, and I love
Or
the idea of experiences too. I'm not a gift person, but I'll take experiences all day long.
yeah, because people don't really remember gifts that much. They remember the time that you spent with them, and that's the most valuable. So if you can make that time together, like you going over to your father for Father's Day, he's going to open the gift. The shirt or the sweater or the tie is not going to fit. It's going to sit in the closet where everything else does. He's going to say return it, like my husband does all the time. But the cannoli kit, you're going to break out with it after dinner, and you're going to make it together, and it's going to be fun. You're going to watch him try to fill cannolis, and it's going to be funny, and it's going to be fun. And
I
then you're
love
going
it.
to enjoy of your labor afterwards.
I love it. It's so true. I think everybody should do it for Father's Day. I'll tell my wife this is what I want for Father's Day. We're gonna get the cannoli kit as well. But like I said, Kathy, I wrap up every single interview with the same question, and that is: in your life, what has been your biggest moment of growth?
Oh, biggest moment of growth. I think this last, I don't know if it's the biggest, but this is the most recent and the most memorable. The move. The move was, I had to come to terms with, when we moved into that house from our other house, we just brought everything because it was a bigger house. Now we're renting a townhouse and we have to downsize. And so we had to get rid of a lot of stuff. And that I realized I'm a collector. And that was really my husband. I like to call it a collector. My husband calls me a hoarder. Um, and so you have to let go of a lot of things. And I'm still having a hard time with that. So yeah, and renting opposed to owning, that kind of hit me a little bit, like I I've always moved into a house that we owned. So I haven't, I've made this homey, but it doesn't, still in the back of my head, it doesn't feel like home. So that
Yeah.
you have to, grow with that. Yeah, so that would have to be, and then my daughter moving out, letting go of that. My son now moving out, letting go of that, and being ready for it all, and adjusting. So
Yeah. So what is I know I said I wrap up with that question, but we're gonna keep going here for a second. So
yeah.
what has that been like being an empty nester? Number one, how has it affected your marriage? Like how has it changed your marriage in a sense? And I'm sure since you are kind of the meeting point for everybody, I'm sure you see them plenty. But
I do.
but what's it been like with them being out?
Well, with them being out, what we do is we plan things, our schedule around when we could see them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the other thing is too, my mom lives. We rented in the town that where I grew up and where my mom lives. So, and she's getting older and she needs a little bit more attention. She's even though she wants to do everything on her own, I'm spending more time with her, and so this has allowed me those moments. And she'll constantly say, "I'm sorry, I'm bothering you. I'm
Uh,
sorry that I'm giving you a hard time, and you have to take me here, and you're taking me there." And you're helping me get dressed because she had broken her wrist, so I had to help her. And I said, Mom, yeah, I could look at it like um this is something I have to do, but I'm looking at it that I get to spend so much time with you, and I get to do things with you that I haven't done in a while. So I consider myself lucky. And so that was a little bit of an adjustment too, because you could look at it and say, my mom is getting older and I have to help her and I have to do this and just I have to be there for her. But how lucky am I that I have her, that I can do those things with her?
right.
So I think it's your perspective does a lot.
I love it. Kathy, thank you so much for taking the time out and sharing your wisdom with my audience. This has been a ton of fun. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's great talking to you. Great seeing you. Happy anniversary to you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad to catch up.